I would like to call the April 4, 2024 University Governance and Operations Committee meeting to order. I will ask staff to confirm that we have a quorum. Please remember that only members of the committee can provide a second to a motion. Live stream of the public meeting is available to the public on youtube.com at the ABOR Live link. Quick overview of today's meeting. We will start with a review and discussion of Arizona State University's general education curriculum and crosswalk. The committee will then receive an update on FAFSA developments since this topic was discussed at the February 2024 board meeting. After that, we will hear from interim CFO John Arnold, who will provide a financial update on the University of Arizona. The next item will pertain to establishing new academic fees for Arizona State University and Northern Arizona University, and clarifying the board's prior approval of base tuition and mandatory fees for the University of Arizona. The committee will then review an amendment to the cash balance pension plan. Following that, we will hear from Arizona State University on its requests for lease extensions and individual project and financing related to capital projects. Next, the committee and the universities will engage in a discussion of sunset review of fees for calendar year 2023. Our final item will be a review of a proposed ABOR policy revision. Before moving on to our discussion items, we should approve the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda include item 12 and items 14 through 18. Regents have asked that item number 13 regarding the University of Arizona's new program requests be removed from the consent agenda to allow time for discussion. We will take up item number 13 later in the meeting. Does anyone have any conflict to declare on the items scheduled for the consent? Hearing none, I move that the committee forward to the board for approval items 12 and 14 through 18 as listed on the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. The motion passes. Item 1 will be a review and discussion of Arizona State University's general education curriculum and crosswalk. Provost Nancy Gonzalez is here to present an overview for the discussion. Provost Gonzalez.
Thank you. Thank you, Regents. I appreciate the opportunity to talk today about ASU's new General Studies program that we're calling General Studies Gold. It's nice to be at this phase in the process. ABOR 2-210 states that general education provides graduates of Arizona's public universities with the knowledge and intellectual habits that prepare them to take their place in our republic and the world. This mandate guided the creation of our new General Studies curriculum at ASU. General Studies Gold was designed to accomplish 3 goals. First, to engage students in modern scholarship, addressing a variety of classic and contemporary issues relevant to engaged citizens. Second, to develop students' abilities to analyze problems and create solutions using multiple perspectives and methodologies. Third, to increase students' understanding of the purpose and application of the general education curriculum. To meet these goals, General Studies Gold draws inspiration from ASU's charter and design aspirations to create a program that is uniquely representative of ASU. The General Studies Gold program integrates the best of core, enduring foundational knowledge in humanities, arts, science, and math, with interdisciplinary topics of current and future relevance, including sustainability, global social systems, and civic engagement. As articulated in more detail in the written crosswalk materials that you received, General Studies Gold requires students to take courses in 9 categories aligned with the knowledge areas outlined in ABOR Policy 2-210. Those 9 knowledge areas are humanities, arts, and design, 2, social and behavioral sciences, 3, scientific thinking in natural sciences, 4, quantitative reasoning, 5, mathematics, 6, American institutions, 7, governance and civic engagement, 8, global communities, societies, and individuals, and 9, sustainability. The General Studies Gold program makes visible to students what they are learning and why in ways that ASU's previous General Studies curriculum did not. Each category has clearly stated learning outcomes which guide assessment, and each course can fulfill only one single gold requirement. At the same time, this new general education program maintains and extends ASU's commitment to student access and success. All requirements can be completed at the lower division level, and the General Studies Gold program provides course options across different disciplines and levels. This General Studies curriculum was created over the course of approximately 2 years in a faculty-driven process, which we described in greater detail in the materials. This process included workshops, steering committees, and many, many conversations. More than 500 ASU faculty members contributed to developing the program. The program truly reflects the work, thought, and expertise of our academic community, and I would like to take this opportunity again to thank those who contributed so generously. Since the moment the ASU Faculty Senate voted to approve the General Studies Gold curriculum in November of 2023, university staff and faculty have worked expeditiously to implement the new program. So I would like to thank the many staff who have been involved in the implementation process. They have reviewed curriculum, modified university technologies, communicated changes to faculty, staff, and students, led numerous trainings, developed websites, and completed many other behind-the-scenes tasks that often go unrecognized and are nonetheless very essential. We are proud that the General Studies Gold program will apply to new ASU undergraduates with an official launch in fall 2024. In the written crosswalk materials in the board book, you see that students will have access to a broad array of courses representing the breadth of ASU scholarship and creativity to fulfill their requirements. With that, I look forward to discussing the program with you and answering any questions you may have.
Thank you, Provost Gonzalez. Questions?
Yes, please.
Proceed.
Nancy, first of all, thank you. I know that this has taken a Herculean effort to get this done, and I'm glad to see it where it is. We had talked the last time, I think, about it being implemented in the summer of '24. Is that still accurate? And
Yeah.
so it'll be available in the summer of '24 for those students that enroll then, but every freshman will be required to take the Gold program starting in the fall.
The official launch is, and where all systems turn on, is fall 2024. However, those courses are already available to students in the summer, and we've been working with advisors to steer students in those directions. So we do expect students who are starting with us in the summer are likely to will enroll in Gold most likely, but in the fall, all students starting with us in the fall will only have the option to enroll in the Gold program.
Perfect, thank you. I have two other questions. I appreciate that there are 14 classes in the American Institutions section. I'm assuming that that means there are dozens of sections and large class sizes.
Yes, so several things about that. So as one of our new categories, we didn't have as many courses that automatically would apply. So although we have that number approved now, we do expect over time more people will develop courses that meet those requirements. However, you're right that the number of courses does not necessarily correspond to the number of seats, because we have the opportunity to offer more sections and to, adjust the number of courses per section, number of students per section, as we do with many other courses. You'll note that the math category, for example, has fewer as well, but we've been accommodating students in math for a very long time. But we do expect over time more colleges and schools will want to apply to the American Institutions category. And in fact, we've been working closely with people trying to encourage those courses to be developed, as well as courses in sustainability.
Okay, great, thank you. And the final thing was, in each of these categories, in each of the sections, there are at least one, if not multiple, topics that are called, classes that are called special topics. I I mean, my inclination is to ask that you remove those because I think that they are an avenue for avoidance of this in some way, shape, and form. And because there is no definition about what those are, they make me uncomfortable.
Oh, yes. So let me just tell you a little bit about the special topics courses, are courses that are available that allow new topics to be addressed that are timely topics. But we do require those courses to, and those courses are often offered across the curriculum. Any course that wants to be qualified for general studies, it is a special topics course, has to go through the exact same review. And would meet all of the learning outcomes that are articulated for the category of GS Gold that it's fulfilling. So it won't skirt the requirements in any way, but it allows us to kind of offer the opportunity for more courses to qualify. And I do have.
It's at the university level.
At the university level. I would say that where we have the largest number of applications for general studies has been in the global communities, societies, and individuals category. And I assure you that any course that got approved for general studies as a special topic will go through the same review process.
So you're telling me that these are courses that are likely to be limited in scope and time, in which case why wouldn't you just add them with whatever their course title is when they occur, rather than putting in blank special topics now?
We can provide you with a list of the special topics if that.
No, I guess what I'm asking is why do we even need to have the special topics category? If you're going to have a class that's going to come up because it's topical now, then, and it has to go through the same requirements, why don't we just then add it to the gen ed list when it's topical, and then when it's no longer topical and goes away, it goes off the list?
Yeah, we can consider you making it a regular course offering, you're saying. That just wouldn't be offered with much regularity.
The issue is nomenclature in the sense of, so I understand the point that you're making, which is why create a category where people think that they can move around things even though they can't? But
Right.
why even incentivize that activity? So just allow for new courses to be developed and then move them into the curriculum.
And then move them out when they're no longer pertinent.
Yeah.
This just sound, I mean, if I were a kid and I went through and I saw special topics, I'd be like, ooh,
What's that?
maybe I don't have to do anything here. And it may not be the case, it doesn't seem to me to be necessary. It looks like a way to work around the system, and I'd just like to eliminate it.
Okay.
Regent Penley?
Thanks, Regent Goodyear. Provost Gonzalez, first of all, I just joined Regent Manson, and she and I have worked most closely on this issue with all of you. I would just say congratulations and thank you, and well done. When I reviewed the material in some detail, I was really pleased with where you are. I do agree with Regent Manson, and I think there is a way to deal with special topics. Often special topics are things that a professor wants to try out, and if you did that for a couple of semesters and it made sense, then you make it a real course. You don't let it go on year after year as a special topic. That'd be my advice. And so I'd urge you to be vigilant on that issue so that we don't expand the number of courses unnecessarily at the same time. I was really pleased to see a syllabus in the list of courses where I could actually look at the content of the course and what would be required of reading. I thought that helped to make it real clear what the course was. A question for you relative to the syllabi. Is this a situation in which a team of faculty is doing a single syllabi, or is every faculty member teaching the same section, same course, different section, doing their own syllabi?
It varies depending on the course. And one thing I will say about the syllabi, all faculty know that if they're teaching a course that is a General Studies Gold course, that the category that they have been approved for has a very specific set of learning outcomes that they need to make sure that they reflect in their syllabi and in the courses and the experiences of the students, and that also we want to foreground what what the learning outcomes are in the syllabi itself. So faculty are still going back and revising their syllabi to make sure that it fully complies with this expectation. In some courses where there are multiple sections and the same faculty teaching the course, there is a shared process of developing syllabi together. A lot of courses, however, are taught by a faculty member who has their own way of meeting the learning outcomes, and they will design their own syllabi.
Well, what I hope you will do, and I think this is a healthy effort, and it speaks, President Crow, to your focus on interdisciplinarity, is that team of faculty will meet and discuss and work together on this, because it struck me that given the number of sections you must have, you've got to have people from a variety of different departments and nominally different disciplines working together on that. So I admired that and thought, wow, what a wonderful opportunity to hear from colleagues outside my own little faculty unit, what they're up to, what they're doing with their syllabus, and how it might work, so.
Yes, and in general, when there is a course with multiple sections, we certainly don't want different versions and different, we don't want courses designed in different ways. So there is a lot of effort to make sure that collaboration happens.
I just thank you once again. I think when I was acting chair of what was then the Academic Affairs Committee, long before you were provost, in either fall of 2017 or fall of 2018, my memory fails as to which fall it really was, since this has gone on so long. I had just read the Hedgehog Review's article about the University of Virginia's major change to their general education, and the length of time it took the University of Virginia to really come up with a new general education, and the rationale at the university for that. And I thought to myself, wow, I can't remember when the universities last changed their general education. And then I thought to myself how valuable certain general education courses still were for me today that I had taken as a freshman or sophomore at the university I attended. And I also recalled as well students who I talked to at times who said, oh, that's the course you take. It's really easy. It's a huge class. No one really recognizes you. And it's an easy way to get rid of your fine arts or your whatever requirement. And I thought, perhaps it's time. We took on a process that really engaged the provost, your predecessor, and Provost Mark's predecessor, and Provost Pugliesi's predecessor, in a very long discussion. So it was a collaborative process from the very beginning, not one where the board said, do X. And to me, that was necessary because of the way we create through faculty the coursework and the academic curriculum. And then, of course, we knew at the time that once that was done, then the policy, even as it was adopted, would require the universities to work carefully through their faculty senate and with their faculty. All of that has taken a number of years, 7 or 8 or 6, I'm not sure which at this point, but a long time. And I think it's very appropriate that we, as the representatives of the people, took this on, but I think it also has made it work that we did so in a collaborative way, in a long-linked process that has led us to really a wonderful outcome by you and your colleagues here at ASU. Thank you.
Well, thank you for those comments. And I will say, and I've said before, I do think that the outcome is a much improved version of general studies, improved in many, many ways. And I do think that everybody involved feels very good about the process and how it unfolded and where we are now. So thank you.
Regent Brewster?
Chair Goodyear, just a quick question, Provost Gonzalez. I'm looking through the materials. I concur with everybody. A large mound of work done quickly. But my mind went to transfers, students coming to Arizona State, and how this new curriculum either is going to affect where they've been and what they've done in comparison to an equivalency. My question falls along those lines. What is going to change for that review of incoming students to Arizona State from other universities relative to this curriculum, and what sticks from wherever they've been?
Yeah, that's a great question, because it's one of the complications of all of this. So we have been in communication with our community colleges throughout this process, and we actually have somebody from Maricopa Community College sitting on our General Studies Council, who has been part of the review and approval of courses for General Studies Gold. And we've also been actively working to identify courses that already articulate where there's a parallel course that would qualify for General Studies Gold, and already have implemented that in our electronic transfer guide system. So community college students can look to see how their course fits with General Studies Maroon, the prior version, as well as General Studies Gold. That's both visible now. Now, there are courses that they probably have that are not direct one-to-one parallels, but may still qualify for General Studies courses. We're in the process of reviewing and articulating those as well, so those can get added. We're focused on the state of Arizona, and then next we'll move to out-of-state articulations.
Okay. One just quick follow-up to that, the bad side of that, those that would transfer out of Arizona State University going to another university. Same process to look how these courses stand up to acceptance at other universities, I'm going to guess, has been looked at as well.
Yeah, we're very engaged in sort of both sides of the articulation process. And then, of course, those receiving universities have their own, their own requirements in terms of what it is
Sure.
that they're looking at.
Thank you.
Yep.
There's no university anywhere that doesn't take our credits.
In the universe?
No, I'm just saying that we have basically universal acceptance of our credits. Now, what they count for, that's a different matter. But
Regent Zaragoza?
Thank you, Chair Goodyear. Provost Gonzalez, I just want to say thanks for joining us. I'm sure I speak for the board when I say we appreciate your time and attention to detail with this general studies curriculum. So my question comes from knowing that in fall 2025, my youngest brother, he's going to be taking several of these courses as a freshman, and from having taken several of them, across multiple categories myself. Given that there were many conversations about which courses would be included, I'm sure that there were many that faculty and staff would have liked to have included, but which ultimately didn't make the cut. I'm curious if you foresee any significant changes to the curriculum, and if so, which of those categories do you think will be subject to the most change over the next few years?
Well, we feel pretty confident that all the rigorous work that went into getting to this point is going to hold us in good stead for quite a while.
Okay.
The last time I think was 40-plus years. Probably we shouldn't wait that long, but we feel that we're in pretty good shape. We do think, though, that people, now that they understand what's required to qualify for general studies, the adaptation will happen at the faculty side in terms of their courses. And if they really want to have something qualify, they can understand what it is we're trying to achieve and make sure that they make those changes. So we do expect more courses will come forward with those sorts of changes.
Okay, thank you.
Regent Manson?
Yes, just to finalize, I think we've all expressed our appreciation, and I do second that, echo that. I just wanted to make sure that we had actually come to an agreement or a conclusion that we were going to eliminate the special topics classes.
So you would like us to treat the special topics classes in a different way?
Yes, please.
Well, if I could, Regents, if I could just say something, being a user of special topics. For example, study abroad courses that are not what we call hard lines use the 598 designation because they're not hard lines, they're not fixed in going forward. I think it gives us some flexibility as faculty to test out new things without having to go through a 3-year vetting process to get a hard line. I'm just saying, I think there is utility to it. That's all.
I agree with you, Penny, that I think there's real value to special topics. And, if you're taking a group of students, for example, to Bavaria, and the next year you may go to Florence or something, you have a different set of learning objectives. Some will be common because you're going outside the United States. On the other hand, there's going to be a lot that's different. And in those circumstances, a special topic may still meet the general education, but be really quite different. I guess what I would urge, rather than elimination, is that if it's the same course, okay, we're going to offer this special topic in fall of 2024 and then again in 2025, there's a limit on how many times you can offer the same special topic. But instead, you've got to go through the more rigorous process of getting the academic committee in the college, the academic committee at the Senate, to approve that, so that I think you address what Regent Manson is getting at without eliminating the value of a special topic in a unique circumstance. That's it's a variation with the same kind of goal that you have, Regent Manson, in the end, but a more flexible approach to the use of these.
Nomenclature, so I understand and agree with your concern that you don't want mechanisms by which people can skirt the system by creating special topic courses that they think is the right way to teach things. And so the notion of provisional or some other nomenclature or just a process by which things are ultimately added, I think that accommodates it and it avoids the notion that there's a way around the structure. So that's what needs to be put in place, is that there's no way around the structure.
Right, and so I guess, from my perspective, and I don't know the mechanics of approving a course for this, but it seems to me like if you're just putting special topics in there because you're going to put, exploration of the French countryside for, one of the topics for
We probably
study
don't
abroad
have
in
that.
France. No, but I'm just
That's
saying,
not the title of the
whatever
course.
the thing is that you're going to put in there because of the word special topics,
Yeah.
I would prefer that you just put the words in there, and that if they're there for a short period of time, great. If they're not, otherwise, I just think you're going to end up with courses in there that are, over time, this is going to expand. There is no question. I'm trying to avoid
Yes,
the expansion without limits.
yes.
So I understand what you're trying to avoid here, and so we will make sure we put in a different process related to these courses, as you're suggesting. But I will say that there is no skirting, and we don't think that we're going to have this proliferation of courses, just in general, because of the way in which learning outcomes are guiding exactly what these courses need to include, and that we're going to have continuous evaluation of these courses. And just in general, so I understand this concern about, uncontrolled, growing of courses in these categories. I think the way this has been designed will avoid that, but I take your point on the special topics.
One way to deal with this would be that a course could be made a provisional course, let's say like some special course that comes up, but it has to be assigned to a category. It can only exist as a provisional course for a certain period of time, just putting in place rules of engagement. I think that we can easily accommodate that and eliminate the special topics nomenclature.
So I guess what I would ask you to do then is remove the special topics nomenclature and then come back and give us an update on what the process is for these temporary courses as they were.
Provisional,
Provisional,
Happy to
very
just,
different words, provisional and
Yes.
temporary.
that's fine. Okay, thank you.
Any other comment or input? Thank you, Provost Gonzalez, for the discussion. We look forward to the launch of ASU's new general education curriculum.
okay, thank you.
This agenda item was for discussion only and does not require board action. For item 2, the committee will receive an update on the evolving issues pertaining to FAFSA, since this topic was last discussed at the February 2024 board meeting. Julie Sains and Jane Kuhn from the board office are here to present, and we have the university enrollment leaders present to add to the discussion and answer questions. Julie and Jane, please proceed.
Thank you, Chair Goodyear and Regents. This is an update to the presentation that you heard at the last meeting. And Julie will give you a synopsis of everything that has been evolving with our friends at the Department of Ed as related to the FAFSAs and the ICERs, which is the information that the institutions received. And they have began to receive those, but not with many complications attached to those. So I will let Julie go ahead and walk you through the presentation. I don't know if all the enrollment leads are here, but there are, okay. And they can stand for questions related to this at the conclusion of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Good morning, everyone. As Jane mentioned, this is an update to our... Good morning, everyone. As Jane mentioned, this is an update to our FAFSA presentation that we had at February's board meeting. So just wanted to provide everyone some new information and also some new numbers as to where Arizona is right now with FAFSA submissions statewide. So in the previous presentation, we had talked about several issues that were plaguing the FAFSA form, a lot of them being technical issues happening. Several of those have been resolved, however, some still exist. There have been workarounds that have been announced on the federal student aid site, so those workarounds have been definitely helping students complete the application. However, just know that there are several students still unable to successfully complete it due to things out of their control with the FAFSA form until they are completely resolved. The other item is that on March 13th, Federal Student Aid did announce a fix for families of mixed family status. So if a family member or contributor does not have a Social Security number, they in the past have not been able to complete the application. The application form did launch on December 31st. So from December 31st until March 13th, they haven't been able to successfully complete the application. Now, there is a fix in place. However, just know that that fix in place does have certain limitations, so it's not a complete fix. There are certain other items happening that we're seeing, so it's not a successful resolution. The other item is that on the FAFSA application, there is a dependency question. It's question 8 on the form. It has been tripping up students. It has confusing wording on it. So a lot of students are selecting yes to this question, which automatically opts them to be an independent student when they should be dependent, meaning that if they're independent, they would have to submit paperwork to the financial aid office proving that they're independent. And also in many cases, it doesn't qualify them for any type of Pell Grant funding. On the next slide, I also wanted to give an update on the ICER data. So ICER data did begin rolling out on March 12th slowly to financial aid offices and state agencies in small batches. Since then, they've revamped up the files being sent out. However, on March 21st, it was discovered that there was an error with the SAI calculation, excluding assets for all students. So this impacted a lot of the FAFSA information that will be sent to financial aid offices, meaning that they'd be awarded incorrectly. And then most recently, on March 29th, Federal Student Aid acknowledged 3 issues with the IRS data, that it was not pulling in the correct data, resulting in an incorrect SAI calculation. There's an estimated 20% of ICERs that are impacted by this. However, financial aid offices do not know which 20% these are until all of these items are fixed. Also, I just want to point out that as of this morning, Federal Student Aid did announce that they're going to reprocess all of these issues, and the reprocess will begin in the middle of this month. So again, it just counts as a further delay. The other item is that students were supposed to be able to make corrections to their application in mid-March. That has been pushed off until later this month. So just to give you a quick overview of the submission data, last time we reported, Arizona was 49th. We're still 49th. We have moved up a little bit in our FAFSA submissions. We're at 22%. You'll see that March 22nd of last year, we had a little over 32,000 Arizona high school seniors submitting the application. This year, we have just a little over 22,000 who have submitted, which actually brings us down 32% compared to last year. And then we've listed the states that are in our company just being low within the ranks within FAFSA submissions. On this other slide here, wanted to show really how Arizona compares to national levels. So you'll see on the left-hand side, it's year-over-year comparison, and on the other side, we have % of students submitting the FAFSA. As weeks go by, Arizona seems to lag within FAFSA completion. We're averaging about 1 percentage point each week. Between now and the end of June, we'll probably be at, if we continue on this 1 percentage point trajectory, probably about 32 to 36%, depending on if we have any fluctuations in students submitting the application, which is far below where we were last year at 45%. And this is just a timeline here, so we've updated it to really show the top timeline, which is a standard timeline for awarding when students typically would have their financial aid awards to start making decisions. The bottom timeline is our current timeline that we're on right now, and it also includes the various FAFSA errors, the delays, the launch delay of the application, and then you'll see it's pushing out award letters that our institutions will be able to send out to students so they can make the decision on which institution that they will be attending this fall. As a response, we have been working very closely at the Arizona Board of Regents with the Governor's Office and also our FAFSA Coalition. In part, we've launched just on Monday, April 1st, the Finish Line to the FAFSA campaign, which is a statewide campaign that includes all of our stakeholders and encouraging all of our high school seniors to complete the FAFSA application. So on it, we've dedicated a page on the College Ready site that has a list of, a calendar really, of all of the FAFSA events happening in April. All of our university partners have really ramped up their FAFSA efforts, and they're all included on here. We also have Aliento, who's really helping to support mixed family status students on here. And then we even have our community colleges and college access partners who are partaking in this month-long event to really help bump up our numbers. And then obviously this will have to continue throughout the summer months as well, knowing that all these students will need supports beyond graduation. So with that, I'll end it there for any questions.
Are there questions from regents? Oh, Jessica,
Mr. Chairman, I have 2 questions, if you don't mind.
proceed.
First of all, well, really a comment. Thank you so much for partnering so constructively with the Governor's Office. I think you guys have done a great job and really got out in front of this, given the enormity of the potential impact. Secondly, in your estimation, has there been any time where the federal government has met any of these deadlines? It seems like we have delay after delay after delay as far as getting information out to folks and then also fixing their respective electronic systems.
Julie, well, they did meet their January 1st deadline, but that was not without all of these issues that have come since. They did, the ICERs were not delivered. So the January 1st deadline was to get open the FAFSA so that students could.
A broken FAFSA, though.
A broken FAFSA,
So
exactly.
really,
So
yeah.
it wasn't really a great launch of that FAFSA. And then, of course, since then, no. And every day, we feel like we're getting ahead. And then there's a new announcement about the IRS data, about the incorrect SAI. And the SAI, if you're not familiar, that is the new it replaces what was called the EFC, the Estimated Family Contribution. It is now the Student
Aid Index.
Aid Index. And with that change, many more students are eligible for Pell, and many students will be eligible for more Pell. And so when we have these issues with ICER loads, with the incorrect calculations and algorithms, and we're receiving ICERs, those may be incorrect. And so students could get packaged wrong, either too much or too little. Most likely, and the enrollment leads can comment more on this, but no, there really have been no deadlines met.
So we're taking a potentially complicated and intimidating system that's not working properly and asking first-time applicants to navigate that.
Yes, yes. And the universities and their financial aid offices, their admissions offices, work very closely with the high school counselors, with the students. They do events all year long.
To be clear, I'm not,
Right. Yeah.
I'm not worried about Arizona's
Right.
response to it. I'm very worried about the apparatus that we've been given that we need to manage through in
Yes.
order to get our students placed correctly.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with Arizona's response to it.
Right, right.
Thank you.
Regent Duvall?
Mr. Chair, certainly agree with all that, but we were 49th before this mess. Why? What is it about our demographics, our engagement, our culture, take your pick, but any thoughts? I mean, you must participate in conferences and others where people talk about how do we move the FAFSA number. And some states have employed strategies, I think of Louisiana in particular, who passed legislation that tied FAFSA to a driver's license. Others have tied it to a graduation of high school. Don't know if those are all successful or not, but would welcome your insights as to why, notwithstanding this additional hurdle that's been thrown at us by DOE, why we lag in this.
I'll just mention the high schools or the states that require it for graduation. Many of those have had to not require that this year because of those complications. And yes, it drives the FAFSA completion rate up, which also does incrementally drive up the number of students that attend college. But again, many of those have had to put that aside for this particular graduating class. Julie?
And I do want to point out that Arizona has traditionally been 48th, 49th in FAFSA completion. We made great progress last year by increasing our FAFSA completion rate by 5%. And we were on a great, momentum there, and then this happened. So I think it's really the landscape of Arizona. There's a lot of first-generation families here in Arizona that students need that extra support to really help with the FAFSA application. Also, we don't have any funding within Arizona to help support designated funding for FAFSA completion. Also, a mandate is a big one as well. College-going culture in Arizona, I think we're trying to create that and have it grow, but it's going to take some time, and other states have had more time to implement that and really set a good foundation with it. And then tie it into a FAFSA mandate as well, which has really helped their numbers. But I think Arizona was making progress, and this has just kind of put a wrench in things a little bit.
Regent Mata?
Thank you, Chair. Talking about the culture, the college culture, what are we doing to improve or change that scenario?
Yeah, definitely working with all of our partners, universities, community colleges as well, college access partners, to reach out to high schools and really just frame that message that, college is for everyone, whether a student wants to go to a 2-year, 4-year certificate program, just instating that and keeping that message going and keeping it a consistent message within students. The other thing is that we've definitely expanded our support systems for that as well. We do have a FAFSA coalition, which helps support these FAFSA activities, which we're running throughout this month. So that's something that, we're trying to put those supports in place. And then the other thing is just really, trying to get that message across that, debunk those myths that are out there about, FAFSA in particular, and also just debunk the myths that are, happening with families thinking that they can't afford it, or for a lot of our first-generation students, they have no one to help mentor them through that process. So it's really trying to frame that message and give them the supports in place.
Thank you. I have another question. Sorry, this is my second, and maybe this for the enrollment group, Cassie and NAU, and I don't know if ASU is here. So what are we doing in high school? Because I know that some of you are embedded in those high school and trying to make sure that the understanding of access is available and helping their families. I know that some of you have the Parents Academy, because it starts with first generation, with parents and abuelitas, and those people that really can push, the students to really change the culture and start the programs.
Kent, do you want to take that one, or? Daisy?
Sure, I'd be more
Sure.
than happy to. I'm coming to the big table.
And is the Vice President for Enrollment Management at ASU.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you for your support on this initiative. Before I answer that question, I'd like to talk about the perseverance of our students. So we might be low in FAFSA completion rates as we look at a by-state process, but our students persevere through this. So just be mindful that this is their cycle. It just happens to be late. I'll remind you that students typically start their FAFSA completion process October 1st. The federal government shifted this to December 31st, and there's been bumps in the road. So as of April 1st, and no April Fools, ASU has received 107,000 FAFSAs from our student population. And that compares to March 23rd of last year, where we had 123,000 FAFSAs on file. So, and we're behind equally as it relates to new students, our continuing students, and graduate students. But our students are going to persevere through this. So as it relates to outreach, in partnership, Regent Mata with the Phoenix Union School District and with Mesa, we said we'd come to the schools. The high school counselor said, no, get the students to campus. They need to see what is going to happen in the future. So we have those programs in place. Just on April 2nd, we had sent out communication to first-year students because we know who they are. They've been admitted. They've received assured admission from the university. And we know enough about their financial background that they're going to either be eligible for our Obama program or the Arizona Promise program. So we just held seminars this past Tuesday. We had about 500 of those students involved. And the questions that they were asking, I've got Missy Pizzo here who oversees financial aid and scholarship services. They were just routine questions about next steps. So we are doing our best to stay focused and calm during what tends to be in the media, the sensationalized process, and helping students stay very focused on their next steps. And we actually are going to send out our financial aid notifications to these students next week.
This is an extremely important point that he just made. We're advancing with or without the successful implementation of the system.
Yeah, thank you.
Regent Pacheco?
Thank you very much, Chairman. And I really appreciate all of the Arizona's efforts, collective efforts in getting good information out and engaging with the population that can sometimes be difficult to engage with. I am still very concerned that we've been handed a broken system and we're asking people to navigate through a broken system that frankly is frustrating for folks that have a lot of access and know-how and have done it before. And so I appreciate the vigilance. I would like to know what sort of engagement we're getting with the campaign that we're running in partnership with the governor's office and continue to stay very closely on top of this issue. And so if I could ask the chairman and the chairwoman of the board to include this issue again, because I really would like to keep a close eye on it.
Regent Penley?
Thanks, Chair Goodyear. Kent, you've reminded me, as you talked about going to Mesa and Phoenix, just how short we are in counselors in our schools. Probably the worst state in the country in that. The previous governor, Governor Ducey, actually put money behind increasing counselors. In my view, it still wasn't enough, and it still isn't enough. But I appreciate that you're intervening in a way. So it sounds like, Kent, that bringing those students to campus is working?
It is. It is. We're doing a myriad of activities, as you could well imagine. Direct communication to students and parents, listening to the counselors in terms of what the best approach is. We also, through Dr. Jim Runn's area in educational outreach, there is an access team that works specifically with 19 school districts through the state. So we're hitting at every cylinder during this time period.
And are your colleagues at the University of Arizona and Northern Arizona University, are you working with them and sharing best practices among the three?
Absolutely, absolutely. Regent Penley and Casey's in the swimming pool and Annika's in the snow and rooms. But we meet actually on a monthly basis. And in partnership with ABOR, we're very well synced as it relates to what we call a tri-university campaign.
Excellent.
And many
Thank you.
initiatives, but I know they probably have some feedback as well.
Thank you. That's the last question, except for mine. Julie and Jane, it is hard to draw correct conclusions based on hyperventilating in the media. So just based on your assessment on a scale of 1 to 10, just how difficult and how problematic is this?
Thank you, Chair Goodyear, for that question. It's a difficult one to ask. I think it depends upon the population. that we may be talking about. Certainly for our lower income students, I think this is a much larger challenge than it is for other students because they don't have the choices that our middle income or higher income students have. Additionally, our students that are lower achievers, lower academic achievers, don't have scholarship funds to offset some of their costs as well. So I think it really depends upon the group that we're talking about. For many, they would not have received anything anyway. And thankfully, the institutions do send out scholarship awards well before students complete their FAFSAs. But I think we need to think about those that are on the margins. We need to think about our access mission. And so there's where I think we have the biggest challenge. Julie and her team are in enrollment leads are doing yeoman's work around this. And we are trying to keep a very calm tone with the media. But it's out there. It's out there nationwide. So I do think we need to be cognizant of the fact that some of the institutions may have some declines in their enrollment of those lower income students, those less academically qualified students. ASU, for example, may not. Those students going to the ASU campus that live in the Valley, it's easier for them to visit that campus than to visit NAU or U of A. So as a system, it may not impact us greatly. Individual institutions, it may, but that is yet to be seen. I think Dr. Crow made a comment at the last meeting about a FAFSA tsunami. I hope he's correct.
That is the final word.
Late and large.
Thank you for the discussion. This is a discussion item, no need for action by the board. Next up, the committee will receive an update on the financial update from the University of Arizona. Here to provide the update is interim CFO John Arnold. John, welcome, and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
What a suit.
I'm going to say, how is it over there, John?
I've sat over here before. It's not the first time, but it is a pleasure to be here and a pleasure to see Chad in my old chair. He's doing a terrific job, and if I can weigh in on the prior topic for just a second, because that's a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and really compliment the board and Chad and his team. Julie undersold a little bit. She was working by herself for years on FAFSA. And when she said, we didn't really have a budget, and the state really didn't put any real state level effort into FAFSA completions, she is underselling the challenges that she faced for many, many years. And so once she became, when that function came over the board, with Chad's oversight and then this board's interest in that, we gave her a budget and boom, immediately saw a 5% increase, one of the top increases in the country last year. So this disaster that has been perpetrated on us by the U.S. Department of Education is extraordinarily frustrating because of the good work and really years of work that she put in place to lay the groundwork for the success we had once this board came in and energized it last year. And then coupled with that is the board's efforts around attainment and changing the college-going process and the college-going culture in the state. It is a hard slog. We have decades of set culture in the state that we're battling against. And it's been a terrific partnership with the universities and the board and led out of Chad's office there, where we're finally making some inroads in that space. And again, thanks to the U.S. Department of Education, that's been stalled out a little bit. But hopefully, As Kent said, our students will persevere, our universities will persevere, we will get through this. It would be nice if we had better partnerships with those entities that are supposed to be advancing education in the country, not deterring it. So, anyway, hope that was okay if I weighed in on that for a second.
Well said.
Budget update from the University of Arizona. Just good news, we announced at the end of January that we had a $177 million deficit. We believe that number is down to $162 million at this point, so we've closed $15 million in fiscal 2024. But let me walk you through that a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about the approach, what we're going through, update on our cash position, and then really our next steps to move us forward. As you all know, when we started this in December, the first step that President Robbins did was put in some temporary spending limits, hiring freeze, and other things. The next step we took was to adopt measures to monitor and control our spend. And there's been a lot of misunderstanding around what we were doing. A great example of this was the centralization of the HR function on campus. A lot of the overspending at the University of Arizona is driven through HR decisions. And so to get control of that, we centralized HR. Many people thought what we were doing was creating efficiencies in HR so we could lay off a bunch of HR professionals. That is not what we were about. We wanted control and insight into the HR function. And so by July 1st, we'll be able to put into place a staffing model for the University of Arizona that is backed up by a budget, and then we'll be able to monitor and control that staffing model so that the departments and the colleges won't be able to go out and hire people without us knowing about it. We're taking other financial steps along those same lines so that when we hit fiscal 25, we will be in a position to monitor and control spend across campus. So then the next step is to actually establish a fiscal 25 spending plan, and then we can lift those temporary limits because we'll have laid the groundwork of controls across campus so that then our departments and colleges and divisions can manage themselves within those controls. And part of that, those controls will be regular updates and regular reviews, and if someone gets out of line with their spending plan, then we'll sit down and get that corrected. Had a lot of questions around how are we making decisions around budget reductions or budget investments. Provost Marks, who's been my partner in all of this and a good friend, laid out a number of principles that he put out to the colleges. I got a question yesterday about how are we making these decisions, and so I just wanted to reiterate the types of principles that we're using out there. So when we're putting the budget together, what we decided to do was start with the fiscal 2024 spending plan and use that as a baseline. So we did an initial survey in January, then we have, we call it the all funds budget process. Through that process, we've required every division and budget unit on campus to submit an expenditure plan for 24 and an estimated expenditure plan for 25. So we're starting with that 2024 spending plan, which is really the closest I can get to grounded reality. Where is the university today? And then we ask for each unit to develop 5, 10, 15% reduction ideas. We're reviewing each of those for impacts on students, employees, the state needs, reputation of the university, and revenue. We want to make, we're trying to be very careful as we make a cost reduction. Are we creating a revenue reduction at the same time, and how do you balance those two? And of course, the principles that the provost also laid out, we're using those as a decision structure as we look at the potential reduction opportunities. We're about 90% of our way through that process, just starting health sciences. Met with all of the colleges at this point, but still have a little ways to go. So where we're at, I'm sorry, I got ahead of my slides. Again, we've met with almost all of the academic units, except for health sciences, but we do have a number of outstanding items that are going to take a little bit longer. Athletics, the Ernst & Young report is due end of May. I had a really good meeting, an update meeting with them yesterday, and they are really into it, and identifying a number of opportunities in that space. We have our new athletic director who's on board and is deep into it as well, and she's doing a terrific job. I hope you get an opportunity to meet her very soon. She's got a lot of really terrific thoughts on how we can move this forward. UAGC, again, the Ernst & Young report is due end of May to look at what are our next steps around UAGC, and this both from a cost and a structure standpoint. State budget is an unknown at this point. I put June. I would be surprised if we see a state budget before June, maybe. But where we're at today, we just that's an unknown for us. Revenue forecasting, as we just discussed, there's been some disruptions around enrollment this year. We've put together a revenue forecasting team, and we're moving through that process and have some good initial looks, but of course those numbers will change as we get closer to summer. And then, of course, leadership changes. I put this slide together a few days ago, and I meant provost when I wrote that on there. Since Provost Marks has a hard retirement date of July 1st, it is we're of course going to have different opinions when we have some leadership changes. So what that's going to lead to is a multi-step budget process because of those unknowns. We need to come out with an initial budget in April. My hope is to roll out something at the board meeting in a couple of weeks. Not sure how detailed that'll be yet, but at least a structure. That will allow our colleges to really develop their staffing models for next fall and make staffing decisions which need to be made in April. So we need to be on that time frame. But then we're going to have to update that budget based on decisions around UAGC athletics, the state, and then revenue updates. Because of timing of all of this and changes in leadership, what we're largely doing is building an FY25 spending plan based on the university structure that exists today. What I anticipate is, as we get through that initial spending plan, then we'll have an opportunity to look at the university structure, both academic structure and administrative structure, and make those recommendations for change during fiscal 25, and set up fiscal 26, or a budgeting process for fiscal 26, which will start this fall, to incorporate those kind of changes. So I don't want the board to anticipate whole-scale structural change in April. We're just not prepared for that, nor have we had time to really delve into that. A lot of that has been my own learning curve, and then just developing the data and understanding of where we can right-size budget. Then we'll make those next steps once we're a little more grounded. So that's process on budget. Just wanted to update where we're at on cash today. So our current balance in cash reserves is $748 million. At this same point last year, we had $905 million. And that's adjusted number. But so the year-over-year comparison, we're down about $157 million to date, which is in line with our forecast. So that's not a surprise. That's where I thought we were, and that's, some, no concerns there. Well, it's concerning, but it's in line with where we thought we were at. And as I mentioned at the top of the presentation, our shortfall forecast for fiscal '24 is reducing. Our original forecast was $177 million. Our current forecast is down to $162 million, and we come at that forecast sort of $15 million net improvement. And I would just add good news, UAGC is no longer projecting a loss for fiscal '24. They had a revenue tick up. And so we're working with them on the cost side, and right now they're literally break even. I think they're positive $100,000 or something, but positive. And so we'll continue to work on that. I think they'll continue to get better through the rest of fiscal '24, and would anticipate seeing improved outcomes on that current forecast. We come at this forecast through two methodologies. One, we have developed a forecast model that looks at the university spending plans and where we're at, incorporates how many more payrolls we have between the end today and the end of the year, other one-time events that we're aware of, etc. The other way we do it, the other methodology is we go out and ask everybody, what do you intend to spend for the rest of the year? And those two numbers are within $2 million of each other right now. So I have a higher degree of confidence of where we're at, but headed in the right direction. The other thing we've done is, I wanted to highlight, is brought in some shared governance structures to all of this process. Highlighting SPBAC, but there are a number of other shared governance processes that we're using, including the Faculty Senate. We started the University Advisory Committee these last couple of weeks, a very successful first meeting. Really asking that University Advisory Committee, which is a group of representatives from the various shared governance structures, to come together to look at university policies, and how we implement some of the budget changes we're doing, but a really successful first meeting. We asked SPBAC, which is the budget committee, and these are elected individuals, to look at a number of issues. One, we're going to have to establish a new financial aid model. The president has talked at length about how that has undermined university finances and the changes we need to make there. I had a good report out from that subcommittee yesterday with a number of recommendations. We're going to continue to meet on that, hopefully have something in place by early May that we can start marketing for students that will be enrolling next year. Academic and financial reporting. We're finding that a lot of our department heads don't have the information they need to really see what's happening at the university level. And even at the college level, that they're making financial decisions in isolation. And so we've asked to, how can we better inform what kind of data sets do they need and what should those data sets look like? We've asked them to look at academic program duplication across campus, and that's when we'll get into some of the structural changes that we need to make. And then new budget model incentives. We're in a transition year for '25. When we start looking at '26 and '27, we need some predictability in budget on campus. And so what should this new model look like? What do we want to incentivize on campus? What kind of behaviors do we want to incentivize? Again, we had a pretty good report out on that yesterday, but they'll continue to iterate on that. That's going to be a longer term project. And then revenue capitalization. This again, as we manage our cash, my hope is we won't have to recapitalize cash through an artificial or at one-time step. However, if we do come to the point where we have to recapitalize, there are several options on how to do that, and we want to weigh which are the best options for the university. What are going to be the lowest cost, have the least long-term impacts for the university is if we have to do a recapitalization. So that's one area that this group is weighing in on. So all of those things are still to come. And then finally, we're doing an assessment of capital on campus. There's certainly a capital plan that's in place that we need to revisit, both to relieve operating pressure for fiscal '25, where we had planned to spend some operating money on capital, and also to make sure we're prioritizing at a university level our capital spend. Along with general operations, capital is largely decentralized with individual units saving up money, spending some cash reserves on capital items. We want to make sure that any spend on capital is in line with the priorities of the university. That will ultimately will develop into a bonding program that is likely to come this fall. So we'll be back in front of you to update you on our capital needs over the next few months. And that is the end of my brief presentation, and happy to take any questions.
Questions? Regent Manson?
Thank you, Chair. John, first, thank you. These are really important updates for us to kind of get a handle on where things are going, and I'm glad to see that things are going in the right direction. There's some level of frustration, and I own that on the speed, and I know that that is just the nature of the industry and the nature of the size of the institution. What percent of the expenses of the University of Arizona are personnel related?
Around 70%.
Okay, so that really is the most significant place that we can make an impact. Once we are looking at being efficient, I don't want to raise a specter. I just think we need to be aware that, you can bite around the edges only so much before difficult decisions have to be made. They will be made. And I know that the university will not make them, rashly, that they will be made with careful and thoughtful consideration for those individuals involved. We have heard about the administrators per student ratio, which seems to be a little high relative to the industry. And I'm curious about the centralization. You said that you didn't really reduce people in HR, but you got control of it. Do you believe that that control will give you enough impact over the long term to manage those types of expenses?
The answer to that is it should,
Okay.
if we manage that tool correctly. So let me discuss that a little bit further. So will there be separations from the university? The answer is yes. Have there already been separations? Yes, dozens of separations have already occurred across campus, and they'll continue to occur. I don't anticipate a single day where we announce hundreds of layoffs. This will take place over time and more piecemeal. Out of my own unit, we've seen about 10 individuals where they've left the unit. And it's been a mix of terminations, retirements, voluntary separations, and it's at all levels. I've had 3 associate vice presidents, 2 associate vice presidents, and a vice president that have left that I'm not replacing. We did a reorganization, and we no longer need those positions. We've also had we consolidated the way we're organized around facilities, and we are separating from some custodial staff because of that. So everything from high-end paid individuals to very low-end paid individuals. I know there's a number of colleges that are going through this same process. I met with a college over the last 2 weeks, they've identified $4.5 million in savings from separations, and they think they can do all of that through voluntary separations. I worry that if you limit it to voluntary separations, then you're letting employees dictate structure. So as we get through this spring, have a better understanding of where we're at in June, we'll have to do a look back and see, what we've accomplished through initial forced separations, and then just see where we're at from a structure standpoint. So all of that's still coming.
And it's very sensitive, but I think it's hard when such a large portion of your expenses are related to people to get at things.
The other point I would note is universities are a little bit of a different animal in terms of employment structure. And Sam, you may know, but I think University of Arizona has 9 different classes of employees. Each have different separation rules attached to them in terms of process and notification requirements. Some require a Board of Regents action, and we're actually looking at running a test case on that for some employees that will have to go through a process that requires the president to approve, and then it comes up to the board for approval, which I didn't know that existed, but it does. So we're looking at some of them. There's certainly faculty with tenure. There's a very lengthy process, even within a reorganization that you have to go through. And so I've learned a lot about employment structure and how things have to work inside of that, but it does make it slow. Is
there an opportunity to change that structure? I mean, or is that just kind of SOP, that's how we do it in higher education?
Great question. Something maybe we want to talk about with the presidents. President Crow would like to weigh in on that.
Our structure isn't even similar.
Is not?
No.
Okay.
We only have 4 classifications, and we don't require regents action unless there's a financial exigency, because we fully implemented the at-will employee status some years ago.
And that's, these different classes exist inside of AWAR policy, and it's how do universities take advantage of those, and that's the one I was bringing up. I don't think we've added anybody to that class for a long, long time, but they still exist on campus. In terms of speed, part of that is perspective. On campus, it feels like we're going a million miles an hour.
Right.
And that we've been able to centralize IT, which involved 652 transfers of reporting, and centralize HR, which were just over 100. Over the last 3 months, I think campus feels like it was crazy fast. And then just moving through this all funds process, I had 20 all fund meetings last week. So we feel like it's moving pretty fast. So
No, and I appreciate
we're
that.
coming.
Sometimes hearing those types of things helps us understand.
And
Regent Penley?
Thank you very much, Chair Goodyear. John, thanks very much for the report today. I really appreciate the results that you already have, the processes that you're putting in place, and the extent of collaboration with the various constituents, including faculty on campus, to get us there. You remind me that this board's decision, in collaboration with President Robbins, to assign you originally temporarily to the University of Arizona was a really good decision by President Robbins and this board.
Thank you, sir.
So thanks very much for everything that's been done there. I am curious, and I suspect this is a question to you, President Robbins, rather than to John, but where are you I'm looking at Provost Marks over there, whom I have heard has made it very clear that he is not serving longer than Thank you, Professor Marks, for confirming that. I'm curious about where the university is, President Robbins, in the provost search.
Regent Bentley, Chair Goodyear, thank you for that question. We have had 2 of the 3 finalists visit campus. Third is coming next week, and hope to make a decision very quickly. And all 3, I spoke with a search consultant this morning. All 3 are very excited about the opportunity, despite recent announcements about changes, that they are very excited about the opportunity to come to the University of Arizona. So I'm hoping by the time the expiration date comes around for Provost Marks that we'll have a new provost.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Regent Mata?
Thank you, Chair. John, now that the current forecast is 162 million, what is the ratio split on, what belongs to college, or how is the, how you see the big picture on where do we have to focus, percentage in college, centralization, et cetera?
Thank you, and I did not break that out in the new number. I just got it a couple of days ago. It most of the what we saw is fairly minor changes across the system, except in a couple of instances where we had some significant change. So let me put that together and get that back for you. We'll specifically show that when we give an update at the April board meeting.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Regent Brewster, you get the last question.
Chair Goodyear, thank you. John, not that it has to be answered today, but some of the consolidation that you've done, when I see capital, I also think utilization. So my question to you is there a process to really review on-campus facility utilization in alignment with any capital requests, any capital projects?
Mr. Chair, Regent Brewster, great question. I had the same question when I got to campus and asked our facilities department to do a use study. The University of Arizona has not done a use study since COVID, and there has been a massive change in capital utilization. In addition to utilization on campus and new capital, we have a number of leases that are out there for space that's off campus, and so I've asked them to review all of that just to see, are there opportunities to consolidate on campus? What do we need in terms of new capital, et cetera. So those capital decisions will be informed by that study when it comes out.
Thank you.
John, thank you for the update. You
My
are
pleasure, sir.
uniquely suited for these circumstances, and we are very grateful for all that you are doing.
It is a new suit. This is,
We noticed that.
I got this for my daughter's wedding. It was a spring wedding, and I thought, I'm going to keep wearing it. So.
You should.
Good luck. But is it Kevlar?
Probably should be.
Is it?
Thank you, John. That was an item for discussion only. There's no board action required. For the next item, the board office asks the committee to review base tuition and mandatory fees for the University of Arizona and academic fees for Arizona State University and Northern Arizona University for academic year 2024-2025. Brad Kendricks will introduce this item and present the request for clarification on the University of Arizona tuition.
Thank you, Regent Goodyear. Good morning, board. So as a reminder, the board moved from an annual approval of individual tuition and fee levels last spring in favor of setting annual growth limits so the universities had the freedom to operate within. The board, however, retains responsibility for approving any increases that exceed that rate of growth or to establish any new tuition or fee levels. So that is why we are back before you today, is to allow the opportunity for adjustments to what's included in that catalog of approved tuition and fee levels. So today the board will hear proposals from ASU and NAU to establish fees for new programs that have been approved in the past that they're now planning to start enrolling students in. However, before we hear from ASU and NAU, the board office is requesting that the board consider restating their approval for the University of Arizona's base graduate tuition rate for the next academic year. So last November, UA presented a proposal to eliminate course fees across the university and consolidate fees in order to make pricing more transparent and predictable for students. Now, while the university clearly signaled their intent to collapse all of these fees into their base tuition rate, there was a little bit of confusion in the meeting materials around the graduate tuition, where we only specified course fees and did not explicitly include other mandatory fees that are part of that conversation. So in order to align the university and the board's intent as it relates to what the published graduate tuition base rate was, we've asked the university to update their materials to be very clear about what was included and not, so that the board can then re-vote on that, and we can ensure that the board's action is very, very clearly in line with what the university is currently doing. So what we're ultimately putting forward is that the University of Arizona's graduate-based tuition rate will exceed the annual growth limit for this year because of the fact that it's including those additional fees, such that now graduate students will only be paying graduate-based tuition plus any relevant program fees plus the Arizona Financial Aid Trust fee on the side, but the rest of the fees have all been consolidated in. So I'll pause there in case there are any questions on that item. It's updated in your materials.
And this is, you would consider largely a technical item and not a dramatic change in policy.
Correct.
Was there a regent that had their hands up? All right, this is an action item. I move that the committee forward to the full board the tuition requested for the 2024-25 academic year by the University of Arizona in its proposal and as presented in the executive summary. Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you, Brad. I'd like to ask President Michael Crow to please present academic fees for Arizona State University.
Just to contextualize this, thank you, Mr. Chair. We are much appreciative of the model that we now have of allowing us to, within the range, advance our tuition and fee structure. And we have the previously approved guidance from the board that our fees that we have for graduate programs and our tuition, in fact, that we have for graduate programs are to be set at market. And so as there's a limit in the design of the present policy system which doesn't permit us to advance a new fee or a new fee for an entirely new program without coming back to the board because it's not in the construct. So this is, in a sense, it might be something that we want to look at down the road. The details of the fee structures that we have, do you have those, Nancy? They're in the board book. Mm-hmm. There's nothing unusual or out of the ordinary in any of them. There's a series of graduate school fees as well as some new fees. So when you see a large fee structure, that means it never existed before. All of the other numbers that you see are deltas from the present fee structure. Our graduate programs are intended to cover their costs and then some. And that's the way that these programs are designed, and they're market-based programs, and that is the basis of our proposal.
Any questions or input? Seeing none, I move that the committee forward to the board academic fees requested for the 2024-25 academic year by Arizona State University in its proposal and as presented in the executive summary. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Next up, I'm going to ask Bjorn Flugstad from Northern Arizona University to present the academic fees request for that institution. Bjorn?
Thank you, Chair Goodyear, members of the committee. NAU took the opportunity in conjunction with the announcement of the transition from the School of Nursing to the College of Nursing to dive into our college fee structure, and because we had to establish a new college fee for the new College of Nursing. So that is one component of the proposal to establish the new College of Nursing fee at Tier 3. 3. And in conjunction with a comprehensive review, we also determined that we would reestablish our College of Engineering, Natural Science, and Forestry from Tier 1 to Tier 2 to cover the costs associated with that. So we have two proposals for college fee tiers. And in conjunction with that, we've got three program fee adjustments for our graduate program fees for College of Nursing. All of them have not been adjusted for 12 years, and this opportunity to go into a College of Nursing reestablishes those college program fee rates for the College of Nursing. And in conjunction, we have one new fee for our Masters of Business Analytics in the Franke College of Business. Those are the four total graduate program fees, and then the 2 fee tiers on the undergraduate side. Let me stop there and see if there's questions.
Are there questions or comments? Seeing none, this is an action item. I move that the committee forward to the board academic fees requested for the 2024-25 academic year by NAU in its proposal and as presented in the executive summary. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? The motion is forwarded. Bjorn, thank you. Item 5 will be a review of the cash balance pension plan amendment. Chris Okazaki from the board office is here to present this request. Chris, please proceed.
Good morning. This is the 9th amendment for the cash balance plan. It amends the plan to update the pay-based credits based on salary amounts approved by the board for this fiscal year. There is an update to your committee materials. The amount for the president of Northern Arizona University should be $106,161. Happy to answer any questions.
Are there questions? Seeing none, this is an action item. I move that the committee forward to the board for approval the 9th amendment to the cash balance pension plan as described in the executive summary. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Chris, thank you.
Thanks.
Our next items are requests from Arizona State University. Item 6 pertains to extension of an existing master lease and an existing ground lease. Dr. Morgan Olson from Arizona State is here to present this request. Dr. Olson, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as indicated, basically we're asking the committee and ultimately the board to authorize approval of extending leases on Brickyard. Some of you may be aware of Brickyard. It sits down on the northeast corner of University and Mill. Some time ago was a private development that ran into some difficulty, was opportunistically acquired by the university. It houses a lot of our Fulton Schools of Engineering programs. It also houses some Herberger Institute of Design and the Arts programs. We have several centers there. Our Decision Theater is located there. But it is, because of its heritage, a condominium structure. There are actually multiple HOA structures involved in that. The university is a majority proportion of the total, but we also have the city of Tempe present at Brickyard, as well as private residential condominium owners. So a little bit complicated, kind of an urban development that sits right on Mill Avenue. The reason that we're coming to you, the extension would actually be from July 1 of 2034 to July 1 of 2044. So, well, why do we need to worry about that now? As it turns out, there was some historic under-reserving in terms of some of the capital requirements that are necessary to keep the environment there what we would want it to be. Specifically, there's a need to replace some chillers that sit on the roofs of the buildings that serve all of the units, and we're going to take the opportunity to replace the roof, because last thing we want to do is put new chillers on top of a bad roof, have to pull them off and redo it in short order. So basically what we're proposing is that we would extend our lease, and there are two leases actually, a ground lease and then a master lease, between the university and an entity of enterprise partners. A little complicated, I won't go into all the details, but the university plans to pay the majority of the cost of doing this capital investment. It's about $11 million total. I think $9 million total. We're paying about $7 million. And in return for that, there will be some credits against the lease payments in the out years. We, the university, pick up the majority of the costs of operation and maintenance there. And so that will allow us to go ahead and invest in what needs to be fixed so that there'll be air conditioning and comfortable conditions during the summer. I think that probably covers everything you might want to know, but if there are questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Are there questions for Dr. Olson? Seeing none, this is an action item. I move that the committee forward to the board for approval authorizing Arizona State University to take all appropriate actions necessary to extend the term of the existing master lease from ASU Brickyard LLC at the Brickyard on Mill located at 699 South Mill and 21 East 6th Street, Tempe, Arizona for an additional 10 years. In addition, to take all appropriate actions necessary to extend the term of the existing ground leases of the Brickyard property to ASUF Brickyard LLC for an additional 10 years as described in the executive summary. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. The motion passes. Continuing with Arizona State University, item 7 is a review of the individual project and financing for IT infrastructure improvements. Once again, Dr. Olson will present this request.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this item would basically authorize the projects that sit within this IT bundle, as we call it, as well as the debt financing with system revenue bonds that would be repaid over time with tuition revenue. So a number of years ago, we started establishing as part of our capital planning process these bundles. We have one for IT infrastructure. We have one for other university infrastructure, exciting things like sidewalks and utilities that lie underneath the ground, et cetera. We have a bundle that addresses laboratory space that either needs to be created or renovated, and similarly we have one for classrooms. And that is our way of bringing a systematic process to capital investment. The source of these obviously is bond issue proceeds that are then largely paid back by portions of tuition revenue over time. So this is our latest IT bundle. There are basically 3 pieces of this. What we call network transformation, which involves upgrades to the university's network infrastructure, high-performance wireless, additional fiber, dark fiber for research centers, et cetera, that require especially high bandwidth. The second piece is research and high-performance computing. That's improvements to the university's data center, including what we need to do in terms of the power and storage requirements there. And then the third piece is what we call safety and infrastructure. A lot of that is additional investment in the campus distribution system. It's mostly fiber, and we're replacing some of the old multi-mode fiber with what's required in today's technology. We also share that infrastructure with our building control networks, so all of the atmospherics that go on and being able to monitor and control those can ride on that same system. So it's a way of being a little bit more efficient in terms of the capital investment that we make. So in total, that's about $63 million. The debt service on that borrowing would increase our debt ratio impact by about 0.09%. And some of this work would start almost immediately, and then over the next several years, we would continue with that in a planned way. So if there are questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Are there questions for Dr. Olson? Seeing none, this is an action item. I move that the committee forward to the board for approval authorizing Arizona State University's request for individual project and financing approval, its IT infrastructure improvements project as described in the executive summary. The $63 million capital project will be debt financed with system revenue bonds. The annual debt service will be paid over an approximate 20-year term from its date of issuance and funded by tuition. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion moves forward. Items 8 through 10 will allow for discussion of each university's annual sunset fee review. Again, we will ask Dr. Olson. Oops.
Oh,
yikes.
Bummer. Dropped his iPad over the back. I might be there for a while.
Yeah. Part of it landed upright.
Well, we just approved you a new computer.
Yeah. Replacement program, I just really need a new one, so sorry about that.
IT.
Dr. Olson, are you prepared?
Yes. Yeah, this is actually review of fees, and the provost's office actually handles most of this. So Nancy, you might want to stay up here. There are probing questions. But the summary here is that this is part of the board-approved policy of regularly reviewing fees. We have many fewer fees than we used to a number of years ago because we went to the consolidated structure with college support fees, so that's the good news. During the last cycle, calendar year 23, we reviewed 20 graduate program fees. The materials, I think, are in your book, so I won't be able to go over those, but the outcome is that the recommendation is that 15 of those continue as approved. We're proposing to disestablish 4 of them, and 1 of them would be consolidated with another fee. So that's the summary. And I'm sure Nancy can give you way more detail than you would want on if you have questions.
Are there questions for Dr. Olson? Seeing none, that was for discussion and does not require board action. Next, we will hear from Bjorn Flugstad with NAU to present.
I'll just leave it there for now.
Chair Goodyear, members of the committee, this is a really short update. NAU has completed the review of all of its fees in 2021 and 2020. So we have no fees left to review either last year or going forward. The transition to the college fee model also reduced a number of fees to be reviewed. So that is the update from NAU.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yay.
Wow.
Entire team.
A presentation with applause.
Exactly. And Karen's team was a big part of that in terms of the review, spearheading that. So shout out to the academic affairs team.
Thank you, Bjorn. This is a discussion item and does not require board action. Now I will ask John Arnold of the University of Arizona to present.
I'm not John.
Oh, I'm sorry, Provost Marks.
We would like to request that you channel John Arnold during this presentation.
It's impossible. These items are like speed dating.
Good boy.
University of Arizona reviewed 2 classes of fees, one in the College of Nursing and one in Eller College of Management. In the College of Nursing, like we just heard, undergraduate fees are rolled into our new tiered system, so there's no need to continue with that. However, in our PhD in nursing program, there is a program fee remaining at $2,600 a semester. And we also have our master's entry to the professional nursing program. And as approved by ABOR in November 23, the program will now follow the regular graduate tuition model of base tuition and program fees of $5,000 a semester starting this coming fall. In the Eller College of Management, we had 1 differential tuition, 5 program fees, and 12 class fees. For all those at the undergraduate level have been enrolled into the new model, and 3 grad level program fees will remain. I'm done.
Are there any questions, comments, observations, or otherwise?
Also well done.
Yeah. This is a discussion item and requires no action. Thank you, Provost Marks. The next item is a...
It's unapplauded.
Good job.
The next item is a review of the proposed revision to ABOR Policy 4-203, requirements to be considered in determining an individual's residency classification for tuition purposes as described in the executive summary. Samantha Blevins from the ABOR office will present this item. Samantha?
Good morning. The board office is asking this committee to review and forward to the full board the proposed revisions to Policy 4203. Congress has amended federal law and expanded the definition of qualifying federal service from what was armed service, to also include foreign service and members of the intelligence community. So now that the members themselves and their spouses and qualifying dependent children will get in-state tuition if they on active duty for more than 30 days, and either their domicile or assigned permanent duty station is in Arizona. The effective date of this would be July 1st, and it would help us comply with federal law. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there questions of Samantha?
Glad to see it.
This is an action item. Oh, Dr. Crow.
Just have a comment, just so that I just heard the 30-day thing. So we're wildly supportive of this, but we just granted a $100,000 revenue shortfall to a person that served active duty for 30 days. $100,000 of tuition differential between an out-of-state student and an in-state student.
Further comments? Seeing none, this is an action item. I move that the committee forward to the board on first reading the proposed revision to ABOR Policy 4-203, requirements to be considered in determining an individual's residency classification for tuition purposes as described in the executive summary. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion is moved to the full board. Thank you, Samantha. As I mentioned earlier in our meeting, Regents asked that item number 13 be pulled from the consent agenda to allow for more discussion regarding the University of Arizona's request for approval of 4 new academic programs and 1 revised academic program. The University of Arizona has withdrawn the engineering master's and doctorate programs from their request at this time, so we will discuss the remaining 3 programs. I will ask Provost Ron Marks to present this request to the committee.
Thank you, Chair Goodyear. New academic program proposals at the University of Arizona go through rigorous college and university level review committees. And there are now 11 new program proposals pending ABOR approval, as well as a similar number of program disestablishments. We are acting prudently in response to our financial situation, and we are holding most of these proposals before moving forward for final approval. As part of our normal efforts to update our curricula in response to our financial issues, current plans for this academic year include the disestablishment of 14 majors, 8 minors, 16 certificates, and 13 emphases. Of the pending new program proposals, only 2 in high-demand fields are under consideration by the board today. These programs have very minimal startup costs, they make extensive use of existing faculty and courses, and we are very confident they'll have a strong enrollment. In addition, we have 1 request to establish a significantly revised academic program. Specifically, the items for you to consider today include a BS, a Bachelor of Science degree in Artificial Intelligence in the College of Science. Students will study methods for constructing systems that display intelligent behavior. The program will provide students with a solid foundation in computer science and the theoretical background and practical training in artificial intelligence they need to build systems that transform unstructured data such as images, video, audio, or natural language, and structured databases. This program requires no new resources in the first 3 years. Enrollment in the major will be very robust given the current demand for workers trained in AI field, with conservative projected enrollment of 150 students by year 3. A delay in approval will interrupt recruiting efforts, thereby negatively impacting enrollment growth over the next few years. The second degree is a Bachelor of Science in Neuroscience, also in the College of Science. Modern neuroscience is the interdisciplinary study of the nervous system from the level of individual genes and proteins that control neural activity to mechanisms that govern complex human behavior in health and disease. Earning a degree in neuroscience will prepare students exceptionally well for advanced training for medical school and graduate school in the neuroscience or related fields, careers in the pharmaceutical, biotech, biomedical, or other industries, or for other science-related careers such as public policy, science communication, journalism, and patent law. This program will utilize faculty from the existing interdisciplinary BS in Neuroscience and Cognitive Science program in order to create a program targeted at a different student population, namely those wishing to gain detailed knowledge of the molecular, cellular, and systems mechanics underlying nervous system function, rather than a more broadly focused field covering adjacent fields like cognitive science. There is significant market demand for this major, and enrollment will be strong, with about 180 students projected by year 3. The only startup costs for this program involve a new academic advisor position. A delay in approval will interrupt recruiting efforts, thereby negatively impacting enrollment growth. And finally, for a changed program is our Bachelor of Arts in Live and Screen Performance and our College of Fine Arts. This program is a reorganization of existing physical and faculty resources with a new curricular structure and a new, more accurate name for the degree. The program, which is designated to replace the BA in Theater Arts that has been disestablished, embraces the opportunities presented by the co-location of live performance with film and television to give students an educational experience more relevant to today's jobs market than the older program that it replaces. The purchase of equipment mentioned in the original request under the form of, the original request is not essential and can be delayed. The proposed changes did not require any significant new resources. Faculty loads will be shifted from the discontinued program to this one. Not approving this request would lead to additional costs associated with the program and the loss of the ability of students to take advantage of this new degree. I should add that our performing arts facilities at the university are really quite good, and what this new program design does is it prepares students for careers not only in live theater, but a combination of live and film and television, which is really where the field is going. I'm open to questions if you have any.
Thank you, Chair.
Regent Manson.
So I am all in favor of the reorganization of the BA in Theater Arts. I think that makes tremendous sense, and obviously, no financial or programmatic implications to that are negative. I am really struggling to add the 2 undergraduate programs, knowing where we are with the university, the structures and revisions and reviews that need to happen programmatically. We do know that U of A has a tremendous number of programs, and perhaps, I think probably too many. And so I am struggling to add 2 new, especially in, neuroscience, where there's already a degree that exists that can address these types of issues. And I'm guessing that the artificial intelligence degree is going, perhaps not, I don't see a huge, from my perspective again, influx of students coming for an artificial intelligence degree that they can't currently get within the computer sciences that are offered. It feels a bit like repackaging, so I'm wondering if we're really just moving students from one major to another, which is really, right now, not the objective. So, I'm struggling with the approval of those 2 degrees.
The neuroscience degree is embedded in the current neuroscience and cognitive science degree and focuses more on the biology of neuroscience and less on the behavioral psychology associated with it, is what you get from the cognitive science. There aren't a lot of new courses or additions to the cost for that degree. It focuses, students focus on the biochemistry of their neural system, so there really isn't a new cost. But it does allow students to specialize in an area that we don't currently have as preparation for their careers. AI is similar in the sense that it's coming out of the computer science program, but students do shop for degrees, and all of our universities have to be involved in the new AI revolution that's going on, and to miss that opportunity for our students to have a specialization in AI at a time when it's actually transforming the entire world, I think would be a mistake. So I urge the board to approve it.
Other comments or questions?
Just, the AI, what is the impact, starting that degree, a financial impact?
Is very little because we'll use existing resources, existing faculty resources. We don't have labs for that. It's computer capacity, which we have.
So when you say little, what is little means? Do you have like a value?
I don't have the actual dollar number, but John and I went through all of our proposals right now, and we only brought forward proposals that did not have large ticket items associated with them.
So it's half FTE,
Yeah.
year 2, 1 in year 3.
Personnel.
Yeah.
Cost standpoint, but miss the revenue
Sure, good.
if you don't have it.
Yeah.
Regent Penley?
Thank you. Provost Marks, I appreciate the last statement that you really made. I think this board has stumbled over some of the recent degree requests. And by stumbled, I guess I mean we felt uncomfortable because of the concerns for the financial condition of the university and returning to the trajectory that we know this great university has for itself. So I appreciate your having worked with John Arnold and really looking at the financial aspects of these. Just a comment on the artificial intelligence degree. With the growth of artificial intelligence, I anticipate that some students will find this a real advantage for them in the marketplace when they go to look for jobs. So while I'm not on this committee and will not vote, I felt resistance in the face of the financial difficulties, but I'm encouraged by the way you've described these today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, this is an action item. I move that the committee forward to the board for approval the University of Arizona's request for 2 new academic programs, a BS in Artificial Intelligence and a BS in Neuroscience, and 1 revised academic program, the BA in Live and Screen Performance, for the fall 2024 semester as described in the executive summary. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Any abstentions? The vote, excuse me?
Abstaining.
The motion still passes. Thank you, Provost Marks.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for being here today. This concludes the April 2024 University Governance and Operations Committee meeting. The Strategic Initiatives and Planning Committee will convene in this room after lunch at 12:45. We are adjourned. Thank you.